Hi guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic, and my voice is absolutely ruined. As you can see, we're up close again today. I'm sitting somewhere else. I thought I could change it up again, you know? I'm literally sitting in front of my window and this is my curtain. I obviously chose the perfect day for a long talking video today with my voice completely destroyed and my throat hurting. But oh well. Let's go. First of all, my videos are going to be a bit different from now on. Well, not exactly different, but they're going to be longer. I'm going to take more time to talk you through everything, and I'm not going to try to be hasty about it. I'm really going to try it to be long. Well, I don't have to try because I can talk quite a lot. But I try to talk fast to make my videos shorter, and I don't want to do it anymore. So I'm just going to take my time. Then we're going to do a recommendation-based video. I'm going to recommend you books with, in my opinion, great character arcs. What I mean by character arcs is the inner journey of a character throughout a book. So what I mean by great character arcs is character arcs or inner journeys that I thought were really well developed, really well thought out, characters that really made some progress from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, or from the beginning of the series to the end of the series. I'm going to go and try to keep this spoiler free as possible, but as you can imagine, it's going to be quite hard, but I'm going to try. My first recommendation is going to be The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn series by Sanderson, and I'm talking about the character of Vin. I haven't read the other books in the Mistborn series, so I can't judge Vin's character from those books, but I'm thinking that she is going to make have a greater inner journey throughout the series, but I thought she had such great character development in the first book alone that I wanted to mention her in my recommendation video. Vin started out as a measly thief in a thieving crew at the beginning of the book, but throughout the book she discovered herself, she made friends, she started to eventually trust people, and she became a really great warrior. And I think the trust issues she had were really well developed, because they didn't just suddenly disappear when she met Kelsia. She had these trust issues for a long time in the book, and they slowly start to disappear, and you get her thought process, and you get to see how she starts to trust Kelsia and the rest of his crew. She also started out as she was never a girly girl. She always wore these old ragged clothes, and she always looked kind of boyish, and there's obviously nothing wrong with that. But throughout the book she started wearing dresses, and because she had to, she started enjoying wearing dresses, and that was quite cool to me. That she didn't only start to trust people more, but she also started to become a different person entirely, because she got her first crush. She started wearing different things, finding her own style, and enjoying a more luxurious lifestyle. So this book obviously wasn't only plot based, because it's about taking over the Final Empire, but it's also about Vin as a person, and Vin developing, and Vin coming of age actually, because she's still a very young girl. The second character I'm going to talk about is Emily from Since You've Been Gone by Matson. Since You've Been Gone I've read it last month, and I don't know if I've read it last month. Yeah, I read it last month. And I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the friendship aspects of it, which was the friendship between Emily and Sloane, and also the book is supposed to be about the friendship between these two girls. But I found it to be very much a coming of age story for Emily, and Emily finding herself, and Emily becoming her own person and being independent from Sloane, because she was always really dependent on Sloane. And she didn't think for herself, she didn't make any of her own friends, she didn't have to say anything really, but because she was always hanging on to Sloane and coming with Sloane, and she shared the same friends with Sloane, and Sloane always talked, and Emily was content with just being there. But when Sloane disappeared, which is what this book is actually about, Emily needed to make her own friends eventually and needed to do her own thing, because Sloane left this list behind for Emily to do things. She had to do all the things on the list, and Emily started doing them, and she started to become independent, and she started to make her own friends and started developing her own crush and creating her own life. Emily was really relatable to me, because I've been Emily once, and I think a lot of people have been Emily once. Having a best friend who is the dominant one, who is always talking, and you are just content just being in their shadow. And this book describes my own way of becoming independent and stepping out of that other person's shadow. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I think Emily was a great example, because she was quite shy. She didn't know what to say most of the time, and she wasn't always likable to me, but she was always relatable, because I'm not always likable to me either. And the next character I'm going to talk about is a character that you might have expected, because I talk about this book in general a lot, but it's Violet from All the Bright Places. And why do I think Violet has a great character arc? Well, Violet started out as a depressed teenage girl. She was one of the popular kids, but she didn't know who she was. She didn't know what to do with her life. She felt alone. Well, she wasn't alone, but she felt alone. And she didn't want to live anymore. The book starts with her being on the clock tower of a school and wanting to jump. She's standing on the ledge. And then up comes Finch, which is... Finch. But then comes Finch, and Finch is also depressed. But he's always coming up to the clock tower, and he sees Violet standing there. And in that instant, he tries to make it look like he's going to jump, and Violet rescues him. She wants to die at the beginning of the book, and through her friendship and eventually her love with Finch, she starts to want to live again. She doesn't want to die anymore. Her depression is still there, but she doesn't want to die, if you know what I mean. She still feels shitty sometimes, and she still feels depressed, but now there is Finch, and Finch is helping her, and in a way she's helping Finch, but Violet makes the most progress to the book, and this is one of the books that's really hard to not spoil. But Violet makes the most progress to the book, and she learns to live for herself, and she learns to live it's really hard, I'm sorry guys. She learns to live for herself, and she starts to want to be happy again, and she is happy in a way. She's still sad sometimes, but everyone is sad sometimes, and under that there's still a kind of depression lingering, but she doesn't want to die. That is basically her journey throughout the book. She was depressed and she wanted to die, and she didn't want the friends she had. She didn't know who she was, and throughout the book she got to know who she was because of Finch, but also because of herself, because of the strength that was within her. Next character I'm going to talk about is, for most of you, if you have read this book, you will think like, why did you choose that character? But hear me out. It's Cadence from We Were Liars. And if you have read We Were Liars, or have even heard about, you know that everyone is very mysterious and vague about this book. So it's also a book that's really hard to not spoil again. But I chose Cadence because at the beginning of the book she's coming back to this island, and she also doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know anything really. She misses the guy she's had a crush on, who is, I'm basically paging through this book because I forgot his name. Even though it's one of my favorite books, you know, it's just really hard to remember names sometimes. But even though she misses her crush, I'm just going to call him her crush, because he is. And it's a really cute story. It's really beautifully written too. Lockhart has a really good writing style. But she's a really happy girl at the beginning of the book, and it's all daisies and roses and whatever. Then at the ending, more to the end of the book, it starts to unravel and starts to go downhill, and you start to notice there is something wrong here, and that is what I enjoy. This is not a character arc where it goes from, oh, she feels so alone and she's going all the way to being happy and being independent and knowing herself. No, this is backwards. This is her being happy. You'll know what I mean when you read it. But she starts out being happy to come back to this island where her family comes every summer to see her old friends. And more to the end of the book, it starts to unravel and she's not happy anymore, and she starts to notice, she finds out something is wrong. And that's what I enjoyed about this book. It wasn't the standard kind of book, the standard coming of age story. This was so great, and I love cadence, and I don't know, did I call it Candace at the beginning of when I talked about this book? I don't even know, but it's cadence anyway, and so good. Honestly, I can't really explain because I don't want to spoil anything for this book. But if any of what I just said speaks to you, like not being really being happy to not being happy and feeling more alone, and she's finding herself, but not in a happy way. So if that speaks to you, I would really recommend this, because there is a mysterious aspect to it, and I can't really talk about this book much because I will spoil it, and that's what I don't want to do. I'm going to talk about another book that I read last month, which is The Young Elites, and I'm going to say Adelina. I've only read the first book in this series because I read it last month, but I really want to read the second book, which is The Rose Society. But I chose Adelina because this is another book where Adelina, she starts out being, well, she obviously wasn't happy, but she had a stable life, let's call it that. She is physically disformed, by the way. She's facially disformed because of her bloodpox or blood fever it was. And she survived that, but the people that survived the blood fever started getting deformed, and some of them started getting these powers, and if they got the powers, they were called the Young Elites. So Adelina is one of those Young Elites, obviously. But she doesn't know at first in the book that she has these powers. And she has a stable life. She's not a happy life because her father is a dick. But more to the end of the book, she starts finding friends and she starts becoming happy being one of the Young Elites, because she obviously finds out in this first book. But it's also a journey of her becoming darker and darker and darker, because she unlocks her powers, and her powers are very, very dark. And she learned how to control them, but her mind also starts to spiral out of control, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. She doesn't know she's becoming darker and getting a darker heart because of events later on in the book, because there are a lot of tragic events in this book. Another favourite book of mine, Stolen, A Letter to My Captor, and I'm talking about Gemma. Gemma has been kidnapped from the airport when she's with her parents, and she's kidnapped by this guy called Ty, who I think is in his 30s. And she's 16 or something. And he takes her to Australia, to the outback. And this is the story of Gemma, who I think she was a happy teenager until she was kidnapped, and she obviously wants to escape. She wants to escape through the whole book. But she starts to trust Ty and like Ty. And this book is basically about Stockholm Syndrome, and it was really powerful. But I chose Gemma because she starts out happy, and this is another dark book, and she gets closed off and she wants to escape and she gets really unhappy, but then she starts to trust Ty and want to live with him. And it's just, you ask yourself the whole book, is it Stockholm syndrome? Is she really crushing or in love with him, or is this not real? Is this just you don't have anybody else and he's saved you in a way? He's your savior, you know? This is another dark story, and Gemma has another dark inner journey, like from being happy to this sad girl who has been kidnapped. And then at the end of the book, something happens, and it ends quite abruptly. Like, you don't know how they fare in a way. I can't say more about that, except for that this book tore me apart. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and Gemma has a great journey, and she had to withstand so much that she didn't ask for. So I talked quite a lot. I can recommend all of these books I talked about before this one, and I really hope I could have I recommended you some good books if you want to read now. But yeah, all these characters are great, and I talked a long time, and I'm really happy with the way I'm handling my videos from now on. Like, I'm just going to take my time, I'm not going to talk quite as fast anymore, and I'm just going to enjoy making these videos and enjoy talking about books. Like, I did that before this video, obviously, but it wasn't as fun as it could have been because I had to rush through everything. But now I can just really think about my answers and think about what I want to say, and I really enjoy that. So let me know down below what you think about this new style of making videos. What do you think about these books? Have you read any of them, or what do you want to read any of them now? Do you have any recommendations for me based on these books, or books with great character arcs? Let me know down below. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.